Hello everyone, and in this video we're going to be talking about all the brand new units coming to the High Elves in Tides of Torment, where we've got a number of units, some big monsters. Actually, I think more bigger monsters are coming in here than in any of the other DLC packs for Tides of Torment. And I've had a bit of experience with these units now, so I can be able to tell you how they perform in battle, generally how I see them in campaign, all the rest. So there is a lot to talk about because we're getting a lot of utility here. Some great units, one not so good one, but kind of fits in utility. I think a lot of people have been waiting for these units because, well, in general, High Elves have always been fairly popular. Which is weird because while they did get a lot of content, things kind of slowed down for them in Warhammer 2. It's been a long time since I've had anything new. So let's just jump right in and talk about it. So we're going to start off with the legendary lord, Sea Lord Aisling. You've got him on foot, you can have him on a Skycutter or even on a dragon. Now this character, I was expecting with a bow, I'm not going to lie. Instead, he's going to be fairly decent in melee combat, and when I say fairly decent, I mean he's basically just Lokia with a high elf skin, so he's going to do a lot of damage. Doesn't have regen, but you can pick up an item and give him regen and just make him terrifying. Overall, he is a fantastic character to use in combat. I only have one slight issue. Interestingly enough, there's no bowman when it comes to the Skycutter mount. It would have been useful to have some sort of shot. Same thing, I kind of expected him to have some sort of bow, but he's very much a set it and forget it character. Just throw him into the fray and just focus on other stuff whilst he just does his killing. It's a good thing. The Sea Lord is a strong character and he does do quite a lot of damage, but don't expect him to be this all-powerful melee fighter. Like, he will struggle against, say for example, characters like Chaos Lords of Khorne or even Lokia Fellheart. Remember that Lokia is just really strong thanks to the fact that he's got regeneration, he's very fast at fighting, but in very similar styles he can do the same here. Aisling is very good at being thrown into hordes of enemies. He's got a dual weapon, he's able to just really rip apart whole units without too much of a problem. You have to know where to use him. He's also very good at buffing, his mounts are quite good too. Once he gets into the dragon, he gets a lot more killier when it comes to characters, but if you've got him on foot, don't go for the characters, go for the units instead. Next, we have the generic Lord option. This is the Sea Helm. This is a anti-large because it's using one of those trident weapons. It's got a shield too. Overall, very good fighter too. You can have it mounted on a Skycutter and also on a Great Eagle. Same kind of response. I just wish that the Skycutter had a bow unit there so it could get a little bit of range out there. But it's very good. It's a good aggressive character. It's a melee expert too. And it's just fairly good for defensive measures. Really depends on what style that you want. But if you're going to be going with a sea army, this is definitely the best themed option. I am a big fan of the Sea Helms. I have painted numerous ones for the tabletop. I know some people wanted something else, like an Anointed of Asuryan, but I think there's still time for that later down the line. Sea Lord is very good at anti-large and is quite defensive, and it shows very, very well here. We got a Norskin Giant hitting him, basically deflecting a bunch of the attacks. Very nice brace formation there. And then when it starts hitting fairly hard too. Campaign-wise, you'd be asking why you'd want to bring in a Sea Lord, and to be honest, theming is quite important. Not only that, but you're going to be dealing with a lot of monsters coming in. Say, for example, you're going to launch an invasion of Ulthuan. There's a lot of big monsters there. Maybe you want a Lord who's kitted out for that. Plus, in general, it just gives you a different style of Lord. The more that we have, the better, because at the end of the day, I think the variety is really important, and it's what really makes Total War Warhammer shine out just as well as the tabletop did. Obviously, keep in mind that yes, big monsters can still throw you down and so on. But in most cases, you're going to have this guy being supported by Sea Guard and stuff because those are anti-large too, so it just kind of adds to it. Your generic hero option is the Miss Mage with a brand new lore of magic, and as you can see, once again, on a Great Eagle or a Skycutter mount, the Skycutter really paying for itself in terms of development as it's been used quite heavily throughout this DLC. So, this is a new lore of magic that you're going to have access to exclusively for the High Elves, which, it's not too bad. It's something that I need to get used to a little bit more, so I'll be able to talk about it a little bit more. Maybe in a few days' time I'll have a dedicated video. It's just trying to see what I can get from it, in a sense, right? It's always cool to see new laws of magic. It's got a summon, it's got the usual buffs and stuff. The great thing is, unlike a lot of the spell laws introduced in Warhammer 3, they aren't ridiculously expensive. So you can actually cast this, and you can have a lot of modifiers to just keep casting, which is a good thing. Like, there is a few issues with certain spell laws. The Ogre one, I think, is way too costly. Same thing as the Chaos Dwarf one. Maybe those can be changed in the future. But as it stands, hey, you know, High Elves are just getting loads of laws of magic, and I'm kind of all for it. They've got access to, what, the 8 color laws? Yeah, high magic, and now this. 10 laws of magic, I guess? And your legendary heroes, of course, CARADYRAN, who's got quite a lot, actually. He's got a horse, he's got a chariot, and he's also got a rather lovely-looking phoenix mount, which, to be honest, I might steal that paint scheme for one of mine. I've got a few more to paint up after the move, at least. So, before anything, I did make sure to click on this character constantly for about 2 minutes, and yeah, he has no voice lines. He's completely mute, which is fantastic, because, yeah, he's actually just, like, willingly quiet ever since he became one of the anointed there. So I am a big fan of that. He's anti-large, he's very good at fighting. Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen though, because like we're going to an end times campaign soon, you know? Is he just going to blow up and we can't use him in the game anymore? Well, just in case, if you do end up picking up the DLC, make use of him before it's too late. This character performs incredibly well in battle, where really he can take out large targets without too much of a problem. I've procced up all his abilities here, but also Frog procced up his, so it's only fair. And he's just ripping apart Frog without too much of an issue. Hell, I think he'd even do even better if I wasn't charging him, and if he would have just stayed braced altogether, because he would have been able to avoid a few of the pushdowns and so on. But overall, really good character, performs very well against large targets, performs very well against normal targets too. He's a character that I feel a lot of High Elf players are going to appreciate in terms of finally getting a legendary hero that's quite strong. The ship's company are an odd unit. It's really weird because, one, first, before anything, I want to compliment them. The shields are beautiful, but you could never pay me enough money to actually paint an army like that. That's horrendous. Way too easy to make mistakes. But, yeah, I mean, it's sword and board shield, you know, tier 1. I don't know what else to say. They have aquatic, and that would be useful if there were lots more aquatic-based maps, but, I mean, the most important thing is they're cheap. If you want cheap sword and board, there you go. And I guess that can be a benefit, because if you need troops very quickly, if you just want to hold down the control issues that you might be having because public order might be going a bit weird, or you just need some very cheap chaff to hold the line, they're not too bad. It's just, it's not the most exciting unit in the DLC, and that's for sure. That being said, just because I'm not actively going to use these units doesn't mean that you might not. There are different players who have completely different playstyles, and I can see the value on a basic sword and board trooper. I remember to click record this time. Okay, so now we've got 2 units. It's basically the same unit, but just different stylings. The LOTHERN Skycutter, something that a lot of people have been waiting for, because it's just one of those silly units that were just really overpowered on the tabletop. So you've got one which focuses around being a shooter with arrows, not too bad, and then you've got the second one which has a bolt thrower. The bolt thrower can either shoot standard bolts or shoot multi, making it incredibly versatile and objectively the better of the two. Now, these are flying chariots that can fire whilst moving, and this means that, yeah, you've got flying, highly mobile artillery pieces, which is wild. The big benefit is that they're also pretty damn good at combat too, so once you run out of ammunition, you can send them right in, and yeah, you're perfectly fine. The range of them isn't too bad. I want to talk about them both at the same time, mostly because they're going to have the same uses. The bow ones, well, the bows don't really do a lot of damage. Keep in mind, there's like, what, 3 archers per chariot, whereas the bolt thrower, again, objectively better. It's got a lot higher range, it's going to do a lot more damage. The single shot is very good at taking out large entities or even sniping out some characters, whilst the multi-shot is very good at dealing against hordes. The benefit about this is that they're relatively fast. 90 speed isn't too bad. Sure, it could be a little bit faster considering it's Great Eagles, but they have to slow it down in some way to make sure that it's just not that overpowered. The way that I see it being used is mostly with like the archers ones. You're going to fire, you're going to get behind the enemy lines, and then you're just going to get flank and rear charges, which is usually the best way to go. The bolt throw one is just getting into the best vantage points and then just really hitting as much as you can, whilst also still being able to cycle in and out. I feel like the cycling is quite useful, especially since they, from what I've been able to test, don't really get stuck too much. Sometimes they do, but that's just like a Total War issue that happens fairly often. But they generally get up and down from the sky, no problem, and vice versa. Yeah, pretty good unit overall. Surprising, but no complaints. Oceanids are a pretty weird one, mostly because I just wasn't expecting them. But yeah, they're anti-infantry, they're defenders, so they're quite durable, aquatic, and they've got a whole host of resistances, like melee resistance, fire resistance, physical resistance. It is wild. It is absolutely wild. It does mean that they're going to hold down the line a lot. They come in units of 16 when in Ultra, and they are elemental, so keep in mind that they can crumble. Elemental units will be able to crumble just the same as demons and undead. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Obviously, they look kind of far out there. It's reminiscent of, I think, a design from Manowar. Troop-wise, yeah, they can hold. They can take a lot of punishment and they can deal it back too. Remember, like, the amount of entities does mean the amount of attacks going out, and they seem to be holding against the Chaos Warriors relatively well to a certain degree. So yeah, it's not too bad. And I've been able to see them in the battlefield before. They do hurt quite a bit. You can use them for flanking. Sure, they're not going to be fast. 54 speed isn't great, but yeah, it kind of makes sense for a water elemental, I think, right? I mean, overall, unique. That's a big thing. I think it's very, very unique. I mean, yeah, there is a single entity version, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, but I'm pretty content with this. The Sea Elemental, on the other hand, is the bigger version. So single unit, colossal monster, armor-piercing, anti-infantry, defender. Also, it's got a shit ton of traits. It's also got an ability there that you can use to kind of buff yourself up and also hurt the enemy a little bit. So it's not too bad. And, fun enough, if you do enough damage to Sea Elemental, it will also spawn a unit of Oceanids, which I think is kind of cool. It's the whole aspect of the water being split up. I like it. Sure, some people are going to say, well, it's just the same unit but bigger, but at the end of the day, these things can exist. It's like how elementals from all sorts of the winds can be larger and smaller. We only have one interpretation right now in Warhammer Fantasy with, say, the elemental of beasts, which is in the game right now. But even the old world showed off a mini Leshy. Like, they do pop up. And we do know that there is loads and loads of references to elemental, small, medium, large, and just like colossally huge. I am a little disappointed in one thing though. In general, the elementals, the larger ones, are generally like Tritons. They're supposed to kind of look like Poseidons. I guess it's something different now. Maybe that's just going to get redone because Games Workshop jump in and then they change things around. But yeah, damage-wise, the unit does some pretty good damage. Nothing really to complain though. I like them. It's different. And I think it's about time we started seeing representation of the elementals a lot more. Hopefully it won't be too long until we see like the incarnate elemental of fire or something, right? The last unit has been a long time coming. The MERWYRM, a creature that has existed in the lore for a long, long time and was featured in Warhammer 2 as part of a narrative part, but unfortunately just nothing came about it. The MERWYRM's finally here. A large creature, aquatic, it's got regeneration, armor piercing, it can do a lot of damage. I've seen it in action versus like Warriors of Chaos and Dwarfs, and it's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say here. It's one of the best looking creatures in Warhammer Fantasy. It's cool to see. Unfortunately, the Vampire Coast does not have access to it just yet. You never know for the future. It would be lovely if that was the case. But yeah, colossal creature, kind of slow, kind of lumbering. What's funny is it's like, oh yeah, it's high speed. I don't see it, man. It said like it was speed 75 and no, that was not 75. I don't know if the values are broken at the moment, but that was really, really slow. It's about time this big boy came in and I'm pretty happy about it. At the end of the day, it's something that was highly requested and it makes a lot of sense for it to come with Sea Lord Aisling. Now the roster for the High Elves is a bit smaller than the two others, but it does make sense considering that the High Elves really have gotten a lot of attention over the past few years. I think that it's pretty much covering all the bases now. There's not really a lot of stuff that is kind of glaring at me as like, oh, we're missing this, we're missing that. I do think it's a good time to be a High Elf fan though, because I've seen a lot of people asking for the LOTHERN Skycutter. Having played against them on the tabletop in both Old World and Fantasy, I can see why. You know, they're very, very popular. It's nice getting another lore of Magic. So yes, you did get less units, but you did get another lore that you can play around with, which I think is really a good trade-off. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. There's a load of videos coming out between today and all the way until the 4th. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of content. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye.